What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight With Him podcast. Today's guest is Nicky Hays.
Yeah.
He's a professional race car driver, and we met through a mutual friend. And you're half Filipino, so like you're automatically
Filipino!
welcome here.
I know we're brothers already.
So it's crazy to think that you are to have
I think
that
it's
knowledge
more
now
the
that you're a race
intensity.
car
So the
driver
intensity during the
is
winter,
insane. So
right? And like we'll be
tell
pushing
us a
to
little bit
like
about
see
your
how strong we
background
can
and
get.
how you
How
got to
just
where you're at
overall
now.
like maxing out is all during the winter, and then during the season, the main thing is you're traveling so much, and you're actually like you're doing the service side since the 80s. So once he was my age, he kind of fell in love with racing and everything cars. So I kind of fell into it, right? Cars were being built in the garage as a kid.
Yeah.
I was at a racetrack when my mom was pregnant with me, and I did a victory lap, in my mom's stomach when my dad won his first race.
That's awesome.
Right. So it's just been, when I was 5 years old, that kind of started my career in go-karting, and it started out as a hobby, and as I got older, things got more serious, and yeah, now it's a full-fledged career. So yeah, very fortunate to find my passion early on and go after it. So
I have a question that's, we're going to, in this podcast, we literally just kind of have conversation, right? And what happens. But for me, you always hear about because racing is a sport, right? And as somebody that's played sports my whole life, as I've gotten older, I'm now realizing, just because I didn't think X, Y, and Z was quote unquote sport or hard, everything is hard, right? I used to be like, oh, golf, that's not a sport. You swing a club. Golf's one of the hardest things I've ever tried to do in my life.
Yeah.
So for racing, what does the physical side of that look for you? Because I know there's different things, right?
Yeah.
You train a different way, you exercise a different way, versus somebody like Meathead Manny. He's just going to try to smash as much weight as possible.
Yeah.
So can, talk us
100%.
through what the physical demands of racing is like.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just, for example, when you're young and go-karting. So your typical road car, it's got suspension, it's got seat belts, it's got all these amenities. But a go-kart, there's no suspension. Every single bump, every single G-load is going from metal frame through a plastic seat into your ribs, through your neck, through your upper body. It's I compare it to riding a bull, right? Especially as the karts get faster. And the G-loads, you're doing 3 to 4 Gs, right? And just for example, a fighter jet does maybe 5 Gs on, right? Or the loads that you're putting your body through at a young age are definitely different, right? You're not going to be super strong. You have to be a mix of your cardio has to be there, but you also have to be able to be strong to manhandle what you're driving. You do have an advantage because when you're young, your body gets used to it. But as you get older, especially now as a professional, the cars get more expensive to run, right? We're only running maybe 30 days a year behind the wheel. So those other 300 days of the year, you're preparing your body and your mind to be able to execute in a short amount of time. So it's just as much mental as it is physical, especially the higher up you go.
Do you have to do things for lung conditioning and stuff like that for the Gs?
Yeah, I'd say it's a mix of getting your core and also your cardio, right? So just a lot of I do a lot of road cycling, right? I'll do 3-4 hours on the road bike and then also hit weights, on the same day. Right, so that's kind of,
Jeez.
Yeah, that's,
it's a pro athlete.
Yeah, it's a pro athlete, and it's just a
athlete,
different,
for sure.
we're not worried about necessarily how much you're deadlifting or benching, but it's just a different fitness and yeah, different aptitude you need. So
How do you schedule that? Because someone when you're getting ready for hockey season or off season or football or even a fight, hey, I have this event on this day.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a 2.5 or 3 month training camp to get ready for a fight. How do you schedule that? Do you have your races already set and you get ready for them physically or how does that work?
So the season, there's an off season and an on season, but realistically it's kind of always going. The peak of the season is from March through September. So that's when you're going to be racing quite a bit. It's a Midwest-based sport. So you spend March and April in the South and Florida. Then you're going to be in the Midwest heat throughout the whole summer. So you kind of spend the winter getting ready. That's when you're doing those longer training blocks and kind of just spending more time physically because there's not as much activity behind the wheel. So that's you have a general idea of what the year looks like. It's 4 to 6 month blocks that where things are going to be at. So
That's a trip.
Yeah.
And then are you changing diet and your fitness, your exercises, like the closer you get to it. Like for us, we were talking off air that I'm a football coach. So right now we're lifting a certain way. Well, when we get in a season, we'll still lift, but we'll lift a different way.
Yeah.
Because we're in season, we're using our bodies more, and it's a little bit more physical. How does that change for you?
I think it's more the intensity. So the intensity during the winter, right? And like we'll be pushing to like see how strong we can get, how just overall like maxing out is all during the winter. And then during the season, the main thing is you're traveling so much and you're actually like you're doing the races. So it's just like, can you maintain the fitness? Right. So the big building, like, for example, like all the longest runs, cycling, all that stuff is done during the winter. And during the season, you just try to squeeze in how you can, but also you have to plan time to recover after 4 days on the road, flying, racing,
And do you have like a coach that holds you accountable for that?
That's the one thing with racing. It's such an individual sport.
Oh, wow.
I mean, some people have coaches.
Yeah.
Some people don't. Me personally, I don't. Right. There's just not something it's not part of the team, at least, because you're switching teams every year. It's a team sport, but it's also very individual when it comes to preparation, and kind of everything about racing is like outside of the track is very individual when it comes to that side of it.
So you gotta be really self-motivated.
Yeah, exactly. It's the easiest choice is to go and do nothing, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you see like it's such a up and down sport when it comes to in and out of opportunities, and there's a lot of unknowns. So you see like maybe not every driver's fit because for 6 months I didn't know if they were going to have an opportunity or not. So
how does that? Yeah. So so technically you're in season right now, right?
Things are starting. Yeah.
And do you already know how many races you're going to be doing, or are you kind of waiting for like a call up? Like how does that kind of work?
Right now it's in the waiting stage.
Okay.
Right. Every year's been different, and over the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years is more of the pro level stuff. So it's an unknown. You might get a call like a week before an event in Florida that you better hope you're ready. You better hope your body's ready to go. You better hope you have everything ready to go. So yeah, that's the tough part. There's so many unknowns, so you have to keep yourself in that mindset that, the phone can ring anytime, and you need to actively pursue opportunities, but they also might present themselves.
Yeah. So how many people are you theoretically competing against to get a spot?
It depends. So there's, for example, here in the U.S., there's IndyCar is like the top level series, and I'm on the junior ladder to that, and I'd say there's about 20 slots in each of those junior ladders. So you could say you're going against 60, or if you're in more specific category, maybe 20. And that's just at the junior level. So it's a very small amount of people. And at the top level, there's maybe 25 seats, and a lot of those guys have been there for 20 years.
So you're literally just having to like either wait, get lucky. Everybody knows in every single sport there's politics involved, right? So you have to be right place, right time, kiss the right butt, or don't.
Yeah.
So I mean that's true though, man. There's politics in every sport.
Absolutely.
And it's annoying, but so you're competing against potentially at the junior, like you said, 20 to 60.
Yeah, depending on let's say per category there's about 20.
Okay.
Right? And a lot of those people, I mean, it's no secret that racing is very expensive, and a lot of I'd say I consider the motorsports, particularly let's say the path to IndyCar here in the U.S. It's a good old boy system. Either your grandpa or your dad was a legend in the 60s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and he was a pro, and you just kind of follow up his footsteps because he knows everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, there's this level of trust, right? And things are able to get done in order for you to be in a car. And then the other way in is, well, you can buy your way in, right? That's a majority of it. And some of the stories of, like, the people I meet with the backgrounds that their families have are pretty unbelievable, right? Because we're talking about less than 1%. These people are able to spend millions of dollars a year, and it doesn't affect their life, right? It's something that comes and goes, and they just accept that. So those are the people who are able to sign their contract for the following year in September of the year before, right? So they spent this whole winter knowing exactly what they're going to do. Some of them even have 2 to 3 year plans. So that's what you're going against, right?
Dang.
So and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's not a single person on that grid who sits there whose dad is a mechanic and works on cars. That is just the brute reality of it.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just the reality. That's the,
So being in that, pretty unique position that you're in, how do you break through to to the industry to get an invitation or get that call to race at a big time race?
I think it's just always been seizing every opportunity and knowing that there is no backfall. There is like, if I don't take action, nothing's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My dad's not going to make the call, this and team. My mom, I'm not sitting waiting for the opportunity. I have to go out and find it. And I've been very lucky. A lot of the people who support me in my career are people perhaps who have been successful in business. They race for fun, and I'm able to be their coach, right? I've been coaching people at driving since I was maybe 13 or 14, as wild as that sounds.
Yeah.
The older I get, it's crazy that someone would listen to a 13-year-old
for driving
how to
the
drive,
vehicle.
Well, they
how to
have
drive
that
around a
knowledge,
vehicle.
though. It's like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson used to fight, 20-year-olds when he was a teenager because no one else would fight him that was in his age group. Mm-hmm. And so I think it is crazy when you hear it now.
Yeah. Now that I'm 21, I'm like,
yeah,
I would never listen to a 13-year-old or 14-year-old. At least not at least any that I know.
Well, this is one of my favorite questions is how do you stay motivated now? Like you've reached essentially being labeled a pro racer. I'm sure there's still a lot of goals that you want to accomplish in your industry, but how do you stay motivated now? Because when you were younger, you have this desire and this fire to like prove yourself and go get what's yours and go do the things that you see on TV.
Yeah.
Well, now that you're 21, you've been labeled a pro driver. How do you stay motivated now?
I think it's one of those things where I still feel like I'm so far from the top. Like it's realistically, it's 2 or 3 steps away from exactly where I want to be. And I know at a distance, let's say a family whose kid is 12 or 13, they think, oh, wow, this kid's got it figured out. He's on the path. But everything is still, I'd argue it gets more and more difficult the closer and closer you get to the top.
Yeah.
So there's still this like innate fire inside of me that I'm very far from where I need to be. And I have a strong desire to reach the top. So I think there's just, I know even if and when we get to the top, it's always going to be, there's always going to be something more. That's just kind of how I'm wired, So I don't know if there'll ever be I don't even want to call it a fire or motivation. It's just I have such a strong desire to be the best and at the top that I don't think I'll ever stop. So.
And IndyCar is like the top for where you're at.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's insane, bro. And how do you deal with the ups and downs of that? Knowing that, like, okay, I know I've worked my butt off. I know I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm still not getting that phone call.
Yeah.
I just won this race. Like, why are they not calling? Mm-hmm. And maybe you haven't even raced, and then they call you. Like, just all the politics and BS and everything that goes into any industry and any sport. How do you deal with that?
I think the main thing is just knowing that it's definitely tough because I sometimes feel like you have to put up a face that you still believe in what you're doing. Right, especially when there might be not the evidence in that moment that things are going well. Sometimes you have to project that, it is going to happen, and you kind of have to like almost fake it, and then all of a sudden you end up making it.
Fake it till you make it.
Right, that's the crazy part is like you have to instill people with confidence, all the people around me, who are supporting me that we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to get there, and somehow, some way you have to make it happen. So it's definitely like, I don't know, Obviously, I don't live with me from a different perspective, but I know I can be maybe a little unbearable with all the ups and downs, and it's just not an easy sport, but it's what I love, so that's what keeps me going.
Are you like analytical? Like, do you want to know where this came from? Like, how sharp do I need to take this turn? How fast do I need to go? When do I slow down? When do I speed up?
I think I've been forced to because the way I've been able to go racing is by coaching other people. So that's kind of the unique part about it, just with driving and racing in general. I wouldn't say like if you're on the path, let's say to the NFL, you're not going to be, I don't really see many people coaching before they're like a full-blown professional. I mean, maybe for a very, very, very low level, but yeah, definitely analytical, but also you kind of have to remove yourself from that when it comes to yourself, because you're just going to sit there and overthink and be so in your own head that you don't execute, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the point I was trying to make. Yeah, because it's hard. Like, we don't know. We just recently had a couple of sponsors reach out to us, and we're like, oh, my goodness, like, this is what we've been waiting for. And it's still not, 100% what we want, but it's nice to know that our hard work isn't going unrecognized.
Yeah.
And people don't not notice it, because all we do want is sponsors to help support. That's how we're going to keep this going, And so to have that is almost like you almost take a little breath of like a relief,
Yeah.
But then you're like, no, nothing's changed. Like, we got to keep going. Like we got to get back on, because I've made that mistake for so long in my life. Like I've told it here before, but like when I got signed to Bellator, I stopped training as hard as I did when I was trying to get there.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like I don't know what happens in my head, and I'm just like, oh no, like we're there. Let's relax. Let's smell the roses.
Yeah.
And then you don't. And then you lose, and you're like, oh, why'd I lose? It's like, well, because you didn't train how you're supposed to train.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. It's really cool though. It's really cool because do you ever use it as like an outlet, like knowing that you're frustrated and okay, I just need to go race, or is it not? Is that not the right mindset to have when you get behind the wheel?
I feel like behind the wheel, you have to be calm and aggressive because you're dealing with some serious, like, one, like the danger factor. You could, right? Not only can you injure yourself, you can injure somebody else. And that's why I'm very, like, when I coach people or anything, like, the coolest mind always wins.
Mm.
And it's weird. Like, all my best performances, I can think about my whole career, are when it's, like, it just feels like I'm walking around, right? Like, I'm unbelievably fast. No one can explain why, like, where the speed is coming from, but I'm like, I could do this with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
It's like a state of zen. It's like a flow state where, like, and like that's the thing I think with any sport, you always are trying to strive for.
Sure.
Right. So it's funny, like, it's always like the calmer I am, like in like the smoothest zen state I'm in, I'm always performing my best. So.
And then what do you do to get to that state, to get calm?
I think it's just making sure that you give yourself the time, because there's so much noise on a race weekend, right? You're dealing with so many people, whether it's like, oh, you need to go sign autographs. Oh, you need to go meet this sponsor. Oh, you need to go introduce yourself to this guy. So you have to give yourself the time, go sit in the car and force yourself to give yourself a clear mind space before you go execute.
Yeah, it's such a total 360 from like some of the, like the last week episode where he played in the NFL. So those guys are probably like, hyping themselves up, like raging, and you're like sitting there like, oh, I need to be calm.
Yeah.
Like,
some guys are that way. They're super like, they start punching stuff before they go out. And I'm like I get it. Like I like to get my energy up, but honestly, every good performance I've ever had, I'm like about to fall asleep before we go out. Like,
you're just so like calm. You're like, chill. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can feel your heart. Like it's weird. You just get into like your awareness just goes. Yeah. Because it's so you have to be so sensitive. You have to feel these things that are like very vague, right? And if your senses aren't up to it, then you're not going to feel them, right? So, yeah, it's a calm aggression. Like
I couldn't imagine that. Because what's your average speed when in a race?
Depends. Depends on the track, but probably 120, 130, depending.
And you're having to just be so calm and chill.
And you're having to make decisions, and it only gets faster. Sometimes you're 160, 200, as things get faster.
Gosh.
Yeah, but
Is there like a weight limit?
Yeah, that's the tough part. Well, it's a weight and a size limit. These cars were all designed in Europe, so they're made for like tiny European people.
So Manny couldn't.
Yeah, no way. So if I like,
you can do NASCAR though.
I don't want to do NASCAR. I want to go
faster. We can make it work. We can make it work for sure.
So I can't ride passenger with you?
No, they're all single.
Yeah, I said they're single seats.
Oh yeah.
They look like
two-seaters. They make two-seaters.
They basically look. I mean, this might be the wrong terminology, but it's basically like a bigger go-kart.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You compare it to that.
Dude, I know my Indy.
Jet, or like,
I know my Indy.
I know my Indy stuff, dude. Do you? Because we kind of alluded to, obviously, politics in the sport.
Yeah.
Having the lineage in the sport. Mm-hmm. So for someone like you, where, and again, this isn't like a derogatory term, like for people listening, like your dad is working, and you said he's like one of the only people that probably are doing that, right? Yeah. Compared to everyone else you're going against. Mm-hmm. How does the car situation and stuff like that work? Like, do you own your car? Mm-hmm. So is that sponsored? Like, how does that kind of stuff work?
So normally at this level, the teams own the car, and basically you're paying them to run it, to put tires on it, the entry fees. So it's basically a ride and drive. At this level, like, you can try and do it yourself, but you won't succeed, right? Because all these teams, they're running 3 or 4 cars, and their full-time job is running those cars.
So when you say team though, like Honda or like how
at this level, it's not. It's more like a privateer team, like on the junior level. Even at the top level, It's like owned by like a lot of them are like ex race car drivers. So like if you've heard of Mario Andretti, he has a powerhouse team where they run 4 cars in the Indy Next series, which is what I'm involved in, and the IndyCar series, and they own 4 cars, a workshop, a truck and trailer for each car, and a full dedicated crew, like 4 to 5 people, if not more, for each car. And you basically are like, they're a contractor to like, I show up and they are supposed to make everything else happen when it comes to running the car.
And so you rent their car essentially?
Essentially, yeah.
And then they put your name on the car?
Yep. And any sponsor, any this, any that, like.
So your sponsors go on their car, you're paying to use their car, their people.
Yeah.
That is such a weird...
Yeah. It sounds like a money pit.
Yeah, it's a huge money pit. It's an unbelievable amount of money that you can...
So how the heck do they make money? Off their sponsors?
They're basically like, I don't know. I'm not in the business of owning a race team.
Yeah.
But they're obviously the owner's paying himself. He's paying all his people, and I'm sure they build in their margin for what... Every team has their number that makes sense for them, because some of them have in-house sponsors that make it so that they can go after good drivers, but on the junior level, a lot of it you're bringing all your own.
Because that's such a trip to me.
If you win, right, you get money. I'm assuming.
In the junior series, you're basically, if you win the championship overall, you get some money to move on to the next one. But even in the junior, like even in the top level, like basically the only place you're going to make money for winning is IndyCar.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
So this whole time now, you're working to put yourself through what you're doing.
Yeah, you're working to find the money to be able to just be on the grid.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that is very unique to what you're doing, right? Versus some other sports. Like if you think about, we'll use Manny as a fighter and or football player. Football players, they're having money thrown at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me throw $100,000 at you just so you can work out.
Yeah.
Let me throw $1 million at you just so you can get your nutrition.
Yeah.
Like all this crap. As a fighter, it's obviously not quite that. You're usually paying to have other people do, and you're giving them, hey, I'll give you 10% of my purse if I win.
Yeah.
If not, thanks.
Yeah.
So for you, it's almost you're like a mixture of both. But I think the psychological component from being like an outsider listening to what you're doing could definitely beat you down.
Yeah.
And so you're having to have like this mental fortitude that is enabling you to like pursue your dream.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that's so unique and is probably something that, not every other professional athlete can say they have.
Yeah.
Like what other professional, I mean, there's few, there's some in every sport, but I'm just like, just kind of making a broad statement and saying there's very few professionals that would be doing what you're doing, paying to do what you're doing just so you can get your shot.
Yeah.
And you're a professional.
Yeah.
Like that's like the rationality behind that shows like your passion and your drive and your grit for doing that.
Yeah.
Like that's a trip.
Yeah, it's a wild sport, and I definitely think, I don't want to call it a chip on my shoulder, but you're on the grid, right? Whether these kids are 15, 16, 20, 21, and like, so if you crash the car, that's on you, right? These, like, at the entry level, they're $180,000 cars.
Sheesh.
Up to 300, the cars only get more expensive, right? So if some 16-year-old punk little kid who can afford to be there decides to not brake and just destroys your car, there you go. You're out $180,000. That could be your season, right? All because of the decision of a minor, a kid who doesn't process what things cost or danger or all these different things. And that is just the nature of the beast, right? It's kind of the allure of the sport, right? That's why the people who are involved at the top level love it, because it is so exclusive. But I'd say coming from a normal background, right? I drive a Honda Civic, right? We're spending what a Honda Civic costs in 8 hours.
Goodness.
I think
gracious.
like just in perspective, right?
Yeah.
Per day of running cost. So that's the kind of thing that you have to be able to take those risks when you're on the track, like knowing that the risk for you is 100 times bigger than basically anybody else on the grid. So,
that would definitely have me kind of second guessing myself, like myself, not what I'm doing if I were you, but just like, dang man, like that's again, man, it just keeps showing your drive and your grit, because I feel like that's not something everyone could do. And I think that's super cool, and it shows dedication. It shows a lot more like mental fortitude than most people would think. Because I genuinely had no idea about any of this. So for me, I'm just like learning something new, and it's pretty admirable that you are putting yourself through all this stuff just to, like you said, you're on your path, or the path to get there.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's like a chip on your shoulder at all. It just shows that you're working and you're grinding and you want it.
Yeah.
And that translates to anything you do, whether it's business, sports, whatever, marriage, fatherhood, parenthood, whatever it is. That drive is what separates people from the average to that next level.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What do you continue to do, and do you just continue doing what you're doing? Is there anything, talk us through that?
I think so. I'm definitely getting older, right? I'm 21 now. I've been fortunate that a few, my girlfriend's finishing college this week. So that's like a life, like we've been together since end of high school. So that's like a life milestone, right?
Yeah.
Nice. 18 to 21. That's kind of when my career started to get more serious, but I've been very lucky. I'm involved, through the industry. I'd say more general automotive. I've been lucky to be involved in some business stuff that, because at the end, like, I got to go find this money, blah, 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 but I still have to live.
Yeah.
Right? Like, life is still happening. The world is, the rest, I'd say the normal world is still existing, right? Yeah. And I still need to be a member of that. I don't have a golden spoon just waiting for me. I'm no shame to anybody who does, but that's just not my reality. Yeah. So, I get to pursue that, but I think, it's definitely an interesting path, because I almost have to keep a 1 foot in, 1 foot out approach, because the things I'm going to have to do to reach the top are going to be different than some of these other kids with different opportunities to get to the top, right? I have to market myself different. I have to speak a little differently. I have to put myself in different situations in order to meet the right people, to create the value for a broader amount of people, so that I can go and chase these, frankly, insane dreams of mine, but it's been really cool. I get to, I know I got on here by just telling my story to Phil, our common friend, on the phone. I think it's, as I get older, and I'm finding like there's a few select people in the world who don't think what I'm doing is crazy and find it admirable. And I think just, it's been a great kind of segue into meeting a bunch of great people. So
yeah, and you surround yourself with people that want to, like, that make you better.
Yeah.
A lot of times you might feel like, and I'm talking from personal experience, you might feel like the friend or the person, at the bottom of the totem pole. But to other people, you're not that person.
Yeah.
Maybe in your friend group or who you surround yourself with, you feel like the dude at the bottom, but you just got to remember that there's always people that are better than you, that are worse than you, people that want things that you have.
Yeah.
And so I always try to reflect on my life, especially like as of late, and try to reflect and take inventory of my day. Like, what did I do? Who was I mean to?
Yeah.
Was I nice?
Yeah.
Because I could be a dick, and just be mean. And we were talking about this the other day. Like, it's funny how the people closest to you, it's easier to be mean to them.
Absolutely.
But when you surround yourself with people that want to see you succeed, people that are more successful than you, people that encourage you to do better, like, keep those people around.
Yeah.
Because then someday you can be that to whoever. And so it's fun, man. It's cool. And like someone like Phil that wants to see you succeed. Because literally, like, I'm sure he talked to you, and then right after talked to me, I was like, bro, you got to have Nicky on. Like, his story's rad. Nicky's cool. He's working his butt off. And I'm like, all right, yeah, like, let's give it a shot. And we didn't even touch base. We were supposed to hop on a phone call, and we never did. I was like, hey, bro, are you coming? Do you have time to come on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Hey, like, I'll be there.
Yeah,
like,
that's kind of the best way
though. Yeah. But dude, I think what you're doing is rad. Like, I genuinely had no clue. I mean, I know what IndyCar is, obviously.
Yeah.
But other than knowing what it is, I don't know a clue about it, right?
Yeah.
I know I like to go fast and that I shouldn't have a fast car.
Yeah.
Those are the things I know.
Yeah.
But again, it is I'm not trying to like keep like telling you this, but sometimes I think people need to hear it. Like, what you do is admirable.
Yeah.
And it does translate into so many other things. Like, if you're a young kid listening, if you're an older person listening,
yeah,
if you have a dream, you can do little steps to get there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you get there or anything in between. It matters that you start and that you just keep pursuing, right?
Yeah,
and that's you're a testament to that. And what Manny was just saying, the reason why I was a few minutes late is I was sitting at a table that I didn't want to leave. I was the least successful person at that table that I was just sitting at by light years.
Yeah.
And to me, and to what Manny just said, so many people like look at me up here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm nothing, right? Yeah. Like that's how I always view myself, because you have that chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
My drive and my goals are so much bigger than me that I don't, like, I might have somebody look at me way up here, but I feel way down here.
Yeah.
And the table I was just sitting at, I was way down here.
Yeah.
But same thing with those guys. They're like, dude, you're 35, you're doing all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like we weren't anything close to what you're doing at 35.
Yeah.
And so for me to hear that, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool to hear, but nah, man, I'm gonna keep pushing.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And so for you, like, if you have people that try to say dumb things to you, just keep pushing, just keep doing what you're doing. And again, you don't have silver spoon, gold spoon, platinum spoon, any spoon waiting for you, right? You got to make what you have, and you got to create what you have. Mm-hmm. And that is a very dangerous, like, perspective and mentality to have.
Yeah.
And I would say I would take that mentality over having a trust fund any day, to be honest.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, we want money, right?
Yeah.
To be able to survive and live. But I would much rather, the saying, like, teach a man to fish versus giving him fish. Like, I'd much rather learn how to fish instead of you giving me fish. Mm-hmm. But there's other people in the world that would much rather just give me the fish. And I'm like, no, man.
I totally get it. It's the low resistance way of life. Right?
Yeah.
And that's cool. It's just not, I don't know. I don't know how to not go after stuff that seems somewhat unattainable. Like, I live for it, I think. Just the thrill. It's just like going fast. It's like anything you can, if someone else can do it, why can't I do it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A human's done it before.
Yeah.
Right? like people are currently doing it. There's no,
Well, that's what Manny literally ends every episode of this podcast. I don't know where you came up with it or how you did, but keep doing it, man.
I was reading a story on a person running, was it a 4-minute mile or 5-minute mile? Maybe even like a 6-minute mile.
I can't even run a 10-minute mile, so I don't know.
You can on skates.
Yeah, that's true.
Good. No, and yeah, it kind of just happened. And somewhere in the article it said, like, oh, this guy thought it was impossible until this person did it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, well, everything's impossible until someone does it.
Yeah, he literally ends every episode with that.
Yeah.
And that is so true, because this whole podcast is driven towards, like, someone having a story to share, right? And we say it all the time. Mm-hmm. We'll continue to say it, but our entire hope and goal for this podcast is that one person is inspired, maybe deterred, whatever, that they have some type of physical tension movement within themselves because of something our guest or one of us have said, right? We want to have an impact. We don't want to just sit here, talk crap all day long, laugh, joke. Like, obviously we want to do that thing or do those things, but the goal is to be a platform for the guest and, a resource for listeners. But, like Manny and I say it all the time, and this is something that you can take with you, of like, dude, like, just listening to you, and we've only been doing this for like 25 minutes with you right now. Yeah. Never met you before, never talked to you before, but like, you genuinely, by doing what you're doing, has inspired me in just even if it's a small way of like saying, oh man, like, this kid's hustling to accomplish his dream, his goal. I need to hustle. Yeah. Like, if I have these goals, I need to keep doing what I'm doing. Like, I have no room to complain, Yeah. And that's the cool thing and the unique thing about having a podcast similar to this is like, hey, maybe one person heard your story. Yeah. And that's what's rad for us.
Yeah.
Maybe get a sponsor out of it.
Or get a sponsor out of it.
Someone's listening. They're like, I want to support
Manscaped.
Right? Smooth
we were
balls.
talking about smooth acceleration earlier.
Oh, man. But we always try to have every person on every episode, like, just tell people your social media. We'll tag you in it, too. But there's a lot of people that listen versus watch.
Okay.
We're hoping to try to get the watching, the views on getting, like, YouTube is so hard.
Yeah.
But audio it's a podcast, right? Like, I told Manny all the time, I'm like, dude, I I don't watch podcasts.
No, very rarely.
But you get, I understand why you do it.
Audio I get, obviously.
Yeah. It's easy. You throw it on in your car. I was driving here and I was listening to a podcast. You know, it's so easy to do. But before we wrap it up, like we always like to ask people to give somebody like your quick elevator pitch on if someone's thinking about doing what you're doing, someone's in your position, maybe someone's ahead of you. Just give like the Nicky version of your 2 cents.
Yeah, don't think too hard. Just take the first step, right? You're going to make mistakes. It's never going to be exactly how you thought it was going to be, right? And just keep going, right? There's always a brighter side, and after every low, there's always a much higher high. So just keep going, and literally nothing is impossible. So keep dreaming and keep going big.
That's the quote.
I was gonna say
at the end.
Clip. That might be the clip.
That's the clip and the quote. Dude, look at you go.
That was good.
That's my Pinoy brother.
That's right.
Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, I think Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube are all just at NICKY_ Hays, just Hays. Everyone always spells it wrong with an E. Mm-hmm. So no E in the Hays. But yeah, it should be pretty easy to find.
I just found you.
There you go.
Manny?
We good? Awesome. Thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe we'll go film me trying to hop in that car.
Oh, wait.
Someday soon.
I didn't say also if you want a virtual driving coach, he has it on his Instagram, NickyHays.com.
Yeah, go check it out, guys. Make sure to go follow Nicky. Go to his website. If you guys are into racing, you want to coach, you need anything like that, have any questions about the industry, hit him up. Go find him on social media. Ben, great show.
Likewise.
Nicky, thank you. And remember, guys, that everything was impossible until someone did it.
See, he ends every show like that.